everyone, and welcome to CCH Connections User Conference 2017. We have been having a great day here in San Francisco, and I am very pleased to have with me a few folks this afternoon. So Jody Padar from New Vision CPA and I are going to do a little interview with Wesley Middleton from MRZ. So we're glad that you could join us. We're going to talk about a few things, but one of the things that we're going to start off with is a little exciting news because these just came in, like hot off the press, like for real hot off the press, right?
Yes.
So this has been a labor of love, I'm sure. And you know, it takes 9 months to give birth to a child. I don't know how long it takes to give birth to a book.
Well, it took me well over a year.
Okay.
I don't know how long it takes most people. It took me a year to get this done.
All right. So Wes's book, Violent Leadership, is here, and you're actually going to be giving some of these out at your session.
I am. We're going to hand some out at the session to start some buzz. So those that show up will get a nice little surprise.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. Seriously,
Thank
congratulations.
You.
I have
you.
my own very own signed copy, so nobody gets this one. But we're excited for you, and we would toast you. So imaginary little champagne toast here. Congratulations on that for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and I know you've put books out before, so I think Jody probably more than anybody else knows what that feels like.
Yeah, what it takes. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun too. So I'm glad. I'm happy for you. It's
it
awesome.
was the first time to experience it, so it was definitely different.
Good. So we wanted to talk a little bit today about the recent storm activity and Hurricane Harvey and all of that. Your firm is based in Houston, so I mean there was a lot going on obviously over the last couple of months, and it seems like it's flown by. I'm sure for you guys it's been more of a trudging through and not necessarily flying by. But let's talk a little bit about how what happened during Hurricane Harvey and how some of the changes you had made in your firm around technology and what you had put into the firm really made a difference that maybe you may not have even known about at the time that you were making some of those changes.
Yeah, it's hard to say that it was intentional that we got to that point. I mean, it's always, disaster recovery is always something that we're concerned about, and being on the Gulf Coast, being in Texas, it's going to happen, right? And so coming through another hurricane 10 or 12 years ago, I remember carrying down servers down 8 flights of stairs, right? Because you had to go somewhere, get power, try to get reset, and it was a nightmare. And so, when they started talking about the storm was coming in, and we had a great lead time, they did a really good job of preparing the area for what was coming. And, it never, not one time did it cross my mind about, oh gosh, what are we going to do? Because we know what's about to happen. I just didn't even. And it wasn't until after it was all over and done, and we looked back, and I thought, wow, we didn't have to do one single. Our disaster recovery plan was this: everybody, please leave the office, and when you leave today at 5:00, take your laptop and power cord with you. That's our plan, right? Because the cloud allows you to just not worry about it. And it's not just, and when I say cloud, I know you and I have had this discussion about what is cloud and what is not. There's everything remotely is not necessarily cloud based. And so some of the products we have the servers hosted somewhere else. So of course CCH Access gives us all the remote access we could possibly need, and then we have engagement hosted, but it all works together seamlessly. Someone logs in from home, and if they have internet service, it's just like working from the office, the same exact experience.
So I think I remember seeing you post on Facebook or something that your employees worked during the hurricane, and you couldn't believe it. You were surprised.
Well, I wasn't surprised they worked. So, to be clear. But I'll tell you what happened. The federal disaster relief came out, and for people that are on salary, you have to pay them salary. We paid everybody anyway. That wasn't really the issue. But we have, 8 or 10 people who are hourly, and so we got to thinking, well, we might as well have them take advantage of the assistance that's out there with the state. And so I had Emily, who's our chief administrative officer, talk to her to look into it. Like, let's figure this out. And a few hours later, she came back and she goes, well, I hate to tell you this, but I looked at everybody's time and they were billing time. Like, there was very few people who weren't just working, right? During the hurricane, like they did. I'm like, well, pause for a minute. I'm like, well, okay, well, nothing else I can say about that. They just kept, and people just worked. I don't think at the same level, but the point being, when they had things to get done, because we had clients out of state or that weren't affected, that were still looking for their payroll to be done or whatever the case may be. Life goes on, right? Yeah. So yeah, they kept working.
Yeah,
which was awesome.
That's amazing to me too. So and I think it adds to your culture too, that your team was like, if nothing bad is happening to my house, I can go to work and I can log in and do work and add value to the firm, which I think there are a lot of people who have cultures where maybe, it's like a day off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A 2-week vacation.
Right, a 2-week vacation if they weren't necessarily directly affected. So I think that says a lot about your culture.
Well, and there were people affected. I mean, we had people with one of our partners, James Zapata, had his house flooded, and my partner Stan Raines and Amanda Shook, who's our employee experience officer, they set up a text messaging system so that everybody would get a text that said, "Hey, are you okay? Please respond yes or no. If you're okay, or if you need help, right? Tell us." And we had crews of people just show up at James's house. I mean, and just completely take everything out, clean the house up in just a matter of hours. It was incredible. Talking about culture, how the people came together to help everybody else if they weren't affected. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I think another thing about the culture that I noticed just kind of following your firm throughout that, it looked like there was a lot of volunteer work going on from all people across your firm. They were helping at various places from just, across the city in different areas that were needed.
Yeah, they, the millennials get a bad rap about a lot of things, and purpose is one of those things that we throw out there. This big name, and but what happens is that community effort, that is purpose. It gives them purpose. You don't have to. We don't demand it. In fact, we don't even organize it. I mean, it's them putting it together. Does everybody show up? No, everybody doesn't show up. But the culture of the firm is such that they want to help other people because it gives them a sense of purpose in the community. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think that's one of the things where any kind of natural disaster, like the exciting thing to watch is how the best of kind of the humankind is brought out during that time period. Yeah. And it does kind of restore your, hope for humanity at points like that.
Faith in mankind is restored. And this generation, right? Because they get such a bad rap, but when you say who's out there doing the good stuff, man, it's those, I call them kids because I'm old enough to call them kids. It's them, right?
Yeah.
Well, and it was interesting to me because I followed along on social media and I watched it all like kind of happen like right before my eyes, and I thought it was cool, like, right, to see someone who was going through it and like kind of, it was really, it just kind of that feel-good moment when all this disaster is happening around, and then watching your firm come together via social media really, step up and do a lot of good work.
Well, and it wasn't just us. So you guys, everyone. We started. We have a nonprofit organization, and I started. I didn't do what J.J. Watt did by any stretch. I wished I could have, but we made an impact. But you guys contributed and helped. So what it allowed is, I think I set a post up that we needed the masks. Mm-hmm. So they went to get when they would go to clean out the flood. I still have like 2 cases of masks. Where people just started shipping things in because we couldn't find them locally. You guys gave to the fund, and all that went to help people either buy supplies or whatever the case may be. We fed a lot of people, but it wasn't just us. It was those that there were people in every state that I know. A lot of CCH. A lot of CCH. And Jody, I know you did too, and we appreciate it. You guys stepped up and really helped did your part.
I think that is the power of social media, though, right? Like, it is one of those things where things do get amplified, and they get amplified quickly, right? And so, you suddenly see that there's this kind of wave of people that, want to help.
Well, and I think, too, from a community standpoint, like, we're feeling helpless in Chicago, and there's nothing we can do, but we know that your firm is a good firm, and that we can actually add value at, on the ground level and help someone we know and their related families, which I think makes people feel good, as opposed to sometimes just giving to these blanket big organizations and you don't know where everything's going. So it was nice to be able to help your firm and to help your community.
Yeah, it was good stuff. And then when we look back and just sort of looked at what happened and sort of let's go back through this and just what did we do wrong or right. that was when I got to thinking about, we didn't have to deal with technology. Was never an issue, and so I picked on our IT guy a little bit, right?
I
like the Maytag repair guy, right? I got a little flack about that. People were like, "Oh, you're devaluing your IT." I'm not devaluing our IT guy. He does a great job, but it does change what he does, which is great. He can focus on the important stuff, not just is the server working or not. He didn't have to worry about it.
He wasn't carrying servers down the flights of stairs.
Was not worried about that.
That was.
Yeah. So and then our Austin office was not affected, so they just kept working. And because of the communication, it was, we use Microsoft Teams. Some people use Skype or whatever you use. But all that collaboration, that cloud-based collaboration, allowed us just to keep operating, not as if nothing happened. Because But I've been through disasters before, and I'm going to tell you, this was nothing like that from a technology perspective. It was disaster. It was a model story for disaster planning.
So I'm sure you've had a lot of firms since then who've either read your post on LinkedIn where you did talk about, kind of how the whole impact was of being cloud-based and how that impacted your firm. So what advice would you give firms now as they're starting to look at solutions? Here at CCH Connections User Conference, obviously that's one of the things we are encouraging firms to do is, look at all of the different tools and technology that's available that you should be leveraging. So what is your advice that people do while they're here?
Same as Jody's. Would you please get on the cloud? I mean, it just, I look around and I just, when I hear people, I just shake my head and go, you have an Exchange server for what reason? Like, really? Really? Okay, well, okay. I mean, I don't know. And so what I know is the more people that get on the cloud, the better it's going to be for us, right? Because it's going to you're not being forced, but it's going to allow you to really focus your effort, resources, and energy into developing that. And so, I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to be on the. It is not what it was 5 years ago.
Right, absolutely. It is. It's where you have to be. I think it's really the next step. Like you have to be there because we need to get to the next step with all the new technologies coming. So if cloud's a baseline today. Really?
Yeah, and it's becoming old. There's a danger of becoming old, not old technology, but by the time some people get there, there's going to be something else,
right?
So much better and newer that they're just going to have to catch up to that. And that transition, it's not necessarily easy. It is, but it's necessary. Absolutely.
Well, and it positions you for when things like that do happen, or even just leveraging, like you said, the remote office locations and being able to have that collaboration where you're leveraging your workforce, right?
Efficiency. I know you have efficiency gains just by having. I can go to my room right now, and if I need to review a return or look, I can do it in this hotel right now in just a matter of minutes, just as if I'm sitting at my office, and that's an incredible tool. Not like, oh, let me log into the Citrix server and then open up the program and no,
just works.
Yeah, that's not cloud based, right? Well, it's remote, but it's not cloud based. It's having a true cloud based system.
Well, I know you guys are both fans too of CCH Access Workstream and kind of how it allows you that visibility into where things are at in the firm too. So from a management kind of just transparency and being able to see where things are. So I'm sure that has to help too, because when you're like in the middle of a storm or something like that, you can actually kind of see where things are too, right?
You know exactly who has what file, where it's at, what the status is, what the budget is, what's left. It is one of the best accountability tools that we use. And to me, having a great culture, it's also about accountability. And keeping each other accountable for what they're doing. And it's not keeping your thumb on them, but there is an accountability. So it's not just knowing where everything's at. That's great, and that is incredible. We talk about it, favorite product. We will just, you don't have to get me started on that, but I see people who use other products or use paper still.
Or update the Excel spreadsheet. I always think, how do they know where they're at?
Like the fishbowl they live in, they just and that, which is why we've invited a lot of firms into our firm to just, I said, you know what, it's a cheap flight to Houston. Our team will spend as much time as you want. Just come drive it. And when you drive it, like for real, yeah, you know it works.
And I know for you, Workstream has made it so much easier too. You're like, I don't have to go like look and see like who's hoarding a file,
Yes.
where do they have it at?
We have tax return hoarders in my firm, lots of them. So we just have to keep things moving. And it's insight, and that insight allows you to take action, and that's what's really important.
Well, here's a good contrast. Jody's perspective is from a firm size. So if you look at firms smaller than 10, right?
Right, we're 5, yes.
Right. So that's a perspective. Well, we may have 100 people, where she's got one hoarder. I've got 10. If you think that,
Right.
it doesn't change. So
Just don't say their names live while we're
we won't. And the point being, you're not too small. That's not a play,
Correct.
right? You can't be too small to use this, and then it's scalable, where we have one office with 70 people, one office with 20, and one office with 5, and it just all works seamlessly together for one firm. Yes, being scalable. Used to products, you'd say, well, they are too small for something, right? There's people question, where they, maybe I don't need that level. This is not something that you have to question the size.
So I think one of the interesting things though around like the, bringing technology into your firm, implementing new technology, and then making the process changes that have to go along with that takes strong leadership. I would say you two both definitely have what I would call strong leadership characteristics. Your firms may want to kill you every now and then. Some of the people.
Oh, they do.
But how? So let's I would like each of you to talk a little bit about that. Like when you are implementing a new technology in your firm, and there is some pushback. Like what is that commitment to change that kind of gets you over that hump?
Well, I think for us, it's in our DNA now. So it's about having that leader to say that, like, look, this is who we are. We're going to change all the time. We're going to continually evolve. And if this isn't the place for you, then this isn't the place for you, because we can't wait for someone who wants to wait 5 years to change. We have to keep moving. So I think it's about picking the right team and then just making it part of your DNA. So it's not change, it's just everyday innovation. And that's, I think, the hard thing, because I think people say, oh, we need to, teach change management. And I don't think we can teach change management anymore. I think we really need to create innovation in our DNAs and in our cultures so that we can continue to evolve, because the world's moving too fast today.
Yeah, it's not periodic change anymore. It's constant change, and much like you having to manage that change, I had to learn some things. So we were 18 people, and it was much easier to go, this is what we're doing, and we're doing this tomorrow. And if you don't like that, the bus will stop and let you off. Whereas today it's a little harder. So what I've learned is we'll do proof of concept with smaller groups. So I like Microsoft Teams. When we got ready to implement that, well, I took the team that I thought would be most likely took our client service and business development team, because once they adopt it, then I can go and say, okay, all right, everybody else, let's roll this out. So change management it's just like you, it's just a way of life. Our partners come and go, okay, what are we changing this year?
Right.
And I just laugh, go, I don't know, stay tuned. I'll find something.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, what is it they say, like the rapid rate of technology change just continues to increase,
Right.
Exponentially.
Exponentially.
And so sometimes it does feel like it's a little bit of a, you're always constantly kind of, okay, what's next? But I think coming to conferences like this and talking to your peer groups and all of those things keep you on that, like the edge of what's next, what else can I do? Because you're not doing change just for change's sake. It's change for efficiency gains, productivity
Absolutely.
gains, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And better client service at the end of the day.
It can't be just for change's sake. It has to be, it has to be the right thing.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think too, people think that it has to be this monumental change, and I don't think it's monumental anymore. It's everyday incremental little changes that you see other people who come to the conference do, and they say, oh yeah, we did it this way and it was successful, and you're like, oh well, I'll try it that way too, right? So it's not that you have to come back and implement 4 new systems. It's okay, I learned 3 new things, and now how can we change our tax process so that we implement those 3 new things this time? So it's just looking for those things to change so that we're always improving and always getting better.
Sally does not exist at our
Doesn't
firm
live
anymore.
here.
Sally is gone
she's
from
we
both
just-
of your firms.
We just say that. If you say that to me, because that's the way we did it last year, pet peeve number 1.
They got to do 3 laps around the building.
Yeah, that'd be a light punishment. Yeah.
So I do think culture does play a big role in both of your firms too. And so before we kind of conclude here today, just talk a little bit about how do you continue to have that. So you talked about like innovation being in your DNA and that kind of culture within your firm of people who know like this is kind of an exciting place to be. I'm sure that attracts new talent and things like that too. But how does that kind of firm culture and how do you continue to cultivate that?
For us, it's evolved because the larger you get, the more deliberate you have to be. It has to be intentional.
Right.
If you just let it happen, good stuff does not just happen. And so you have to be very intentional about it. We have to communicate about it a lot more. I mean, we're putting posters on the wall and words on the wall and making sure when people walk by, they eat it, drink it. When we onboard, it's a 1 hour training about culture, because if you don't teach it, it just happens, and what just happens is generally not what you want. So culture is hard. It is not easy, and it requires some hard decisions. And it's great. Look, we have an incredible culture. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But for folks that think, because you guys can just do whatever, I don't know. It's hard work.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it has to be thought about, and I think that's what old school firms don't think about. It's like their culture just evolved, and they don't even think of it as a culture. They just, they go to work, and there is no culture. It's just a bunch of people going to work together, but even though if you look at it from the outside, you can definitely tell there's culture there, but they don't own it as their own. They're just like, it's, I go to work. And I think next gen firms really think about being intentional with their culture, whatever that culture may be, and they're working towards making it the culture they want it to be, and they're not just accepting status quo. So, and culture is not just having snacks and things, right? Culture is a lot more than having snacks.
It's not.
You can't go buy a pool table and have a great culture.
Right.
That's not how this works. And people are like, well, I can go buy a pool table. Y'all have that, okay? And if you think that's going to make a cool culture, that won't even get you started.
And I think that's a very true statement what you said. I think culture happens. Every firm, every organization, every company has a culture. It may be intentional or unintentional, but there is a culture there, right? So again, planned or not planned. So might as well be planned and intentional about it.
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I know you both have sessions that you're teaching and other things that you've got going on. So congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your new book too. You have a new one coming out. So tell us when that's going to be.
Yeah.
hitting.
So it should be out in December or so.
Awesome.
So, from success to significance.
And I'm the slacker here who has not written a book in the last year. Apparently, I've been sitting around twiddling my thumbs. So, no, but seriously, thank you both very much for taking time out of your schedule.
Thank you. It's awesome. Thanks.
Thanks.
All right. All right, and we'll continue with CCH Connections User Conference 2017, and we'll be checking in a little bit later with some other guests.